Hello and welcome to the finals here at the Hiroshima Wave 2 Championships in OP09. My name is Jake. You can also call me Atrocious. We've got another round here for you of the Hiroshima Championships. It's going to be very exciting. You already know the matchup by the title and thumbnail. Purple Luffy versus Blackbeard. I'm excited to get into this one. It's going to be an interesting matchup and a rematch of these two decks. We've seen them in previous tournaments face off, but can the adjustments made by both sides based on the meta determine a change in the outcome? Now, before we get into this match, just want to let you all know that I am watching the official live stream. So this is an unofficial English broadcast. I'm just practicing my commentary, hopefully someday to become part of Bandai's commentary team. So if you want to watch the official stream, you can click the link in the description below as always. And if you're someone who's been across the channel before, consider subscribing as we're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers. The majority of you are not subscribed to the channel that click on these videos. So if you like the content, again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that crap. But anyways, moving into the matchup, we've got Blackbeard. Blackbeard has been killer in these last couple of weeks, has been dominating these tournaments. Very, very strong. Had 4 appearances in the top 16 after winning 2 straight Japan championships. Being able to negate on play effects, right, by pitching a card from hand has proved to be very strong in a meta that is heavily reliant revolving around on play effects. But its matchup, Purple Luffy, back from OP05, can it ramp fast enough to put on enough pressure against this Blackbeard? Right, we talked about this in the last Purple Luffy versus Blackbeard match. Purple Luffy's second turn, they're going to play a 4-drop character or 5 no matter what, right? Based on that leader effect that it has, where you can take a life and you can add a Dawn from your Dawn deck and set it as active, right? Being able to put out bigger bodies faster could bode well for this deck into out-tempoing the Blackbeard, especially if they're able to catch a lot of cards out of Blackbeard's hand, right? Do a little bit of maybe starving method in comparison to taking away life and continuously adding cards to the hand. May be able to just take it out in that style, or maybe a different method. We'll have to wait and see in this one. So it looks like both players opting to mulligan. The Purple Luffy going first in this one is going to be on the odd curve, Blackbeard being on the even curve. I feel like Blackbeard usually likes being on the even curve, right? There's a lot of 4s, 6, 10, 2, a lot of even numbers that this deck likes to utilize. So could be really interesting to see how it plays out, especially with this starting hand once we see that. And so looking at the starting hand of the Purple Luffy, has a couple Kamazos, right? 2K counter cards in this deck, as well as a 1-drop Trafalgar Law. That's that 1-drop searcher that came out in OP09. As well, coming in OP09 is that 7-cost Sanji. That Sanji could be a nice rush card, right? But could be prevented from being utilized because of on-play effects, and this Sangoro from the starter deck rounding it out. Sangoro probably being a very important card, right? Being able with that when attacking to continuously draw cards if that card gets to survive. The Blackbeard in their hand has a Dock Q, which is a very strong card, as we've seen in the last couple tournaments. Has a nice "this is my time" as well to do a little bit of searching, especially on their first turn if they decide to do that. And a couple other good cards, the 2K Vasco, or I'm sorry, the 2K Stronger. The Vasco shot is the 2-drop, a nice 2-drop blocker, and then the 5-drop Van Augur. So going to be interesting on both sides. I feel like maybe the Blackbeard has the better starting hand at this point, but we'll just have to wait and see. It could get tricky if, like I mentioned, a little bit of starving gets to happen from that Purple Luffy to no cards gained in hand except for the top deck. But Purple Luffy starting it out with that Trafalgar Law, as I mentioned. It looks at the top 4, finds a Heart Pirates or a Straw Hat type card of a cost of 2 or more. So that Kid, Lin, and Mr. 2 all not able to get. So Sangoro, the only option that it can grab. You saw a couple of the different tech cards in this, some good options. The Lin, we have seen a staple in this deck, but going to have to move on into the Blackbeard's turn. At 2, Dawn has a couple different options that they can use. Looks like they're eyeing up that Dock Q. The Dock Q can be really nice, right? Especially once you have some cost minusing effects on the field, can combo really well of that Dock Q with that activate main of KOing a 1 cost or less. Now moving into the purple Luffy's turn, does top deck that Zoro Juro, so doing this leader effect to gain an active Dawn, like I mentioned, on their second turn is going to be able to play a 4-drop onto the field. So going ahead and swinging at life, going to get a Lafitte off that life. That's a nice card that we've seen a lot of lately. Going to use the rest of the 4 Dawn for the Zoro Juro, just back-to-back searches on this turn. The Zoro Juro looking for a Straw Hat purple card. Put it in the hand, so out of the options in here, has 4 different ones to choose from, whether that's the Onami, Sanji, Nico Robin, or Sangoro. The Nico Robin, a very interesting 2 of inclusion in this deck, a very nice way to round out some awkward turns, right? If you have some extra Dawn left over, maybe thinking about the Sanji there, that Sanji from OP07, a great 2K card to have in your hand, kind of build up with some counter cards, and will pass off the turn there to the Blackbeard. Blackbeard now going into their 4-Dawn turn, top decks another Lafitte here, so the Lafitte could be nice to be able to put on the field. Your Von Augur, unfortunately, is a 5 cost, so you can't play that down in the turn, so you might want to just spend a little bit of time building up your hand, right, with a double Lafitte turn. Is going to start off with a 5k swing though. Could go ahead and counter out of this. Doesn't want to give up too much life, right, because maybe wants to focus the life being through the leader effect to be able to ramp Dawn. You don't want to do that too many times in a game and take too much life from your opponent's swings, because you'd run out of life pretty quickly. So now with the rest of it, is going to go ahead, play a Lafitte. I do like this Lafitte play, right? Looks in the top 5 after resting another Dawn and finds a Blackbeard pirate card. So 2 10-drops come into this. So one of them you are going to have to bottom deck. So very easy grab in my opinion. You definitely want at least one of those 10 drops. We saw in the last round, if you didn't see that video the other day, how important those 10 drops can be in the later stages of the game. So you bottom deck too many could spell bad for you. Does go ahead and use that Dock Q effect to take out Trafalgar Law and lays down another Lafitte. So finding a 3rd Blackbeard. So this is the interesting part about this situation in the game. You already bottom decked one of the 10-drop Blackbeards, and you found a 3rd one in the hand. Do you grab that, or do you grab another card, right? Is opting to grab the Shiryu potentially is one of the 3 options they can grab on here. Laboon being the only kind of card that they can't grab, right? Laboon being an animal card, and is going to go ahead with that Shiryu, not going to go with the double Blackbeard, and is going to pass the turn off there after doing some, well, before they pass off the turn, is going ahead and pitch a card from the hand. Thinking about pitching that Shiryu that they just grabbed, didn't reveal any more information to their opponent about what's in the hand, and now this Luffy does not have any on-play abilities that can activate. This is a really good strategy, especially on a 6 Dawn turn, right? Going into a 6 Dawn turn for purple Luffy, because now at this point, they can't drop the 7 cost Luffy and gain value out of it, right? That 7 cost Luffy Taro plays another body on the field and swarms the board, so you prevent that from happening. So what do you do if you're this Luffy player? You probably want to clear a little bit of board or go at face, one of the 2 different options. Do you go for the Dock Q though, or do you go for the Lafitte? We've seen in all of these previous tournament rounds against Marshall D Teach Blackbeard how leaving Dock Q can be punished in this game. So going and getting one of the Lafitte here on this turn. We'll see if he gets the other one on the field. Is going to go ahead and swing that Zoro Juro now. Is going to go at that Dock Q. Decides, you know what, the Dock Q a little bit more important, and the Dock Q with the on KO effect of drawing a card. Is going to go ahead, use leader effect to gain 1 more Dawn, and is going to rest 4 or all 7, it looks like, and play the Luffy Taro that they got off life. Not getting that on play effect, of course, but as an 8,000 power body, very strong card to put down, and 1,000 more power than the Sanji that he could have put down. So now we move into the Blackbeard 6 Dawn turn. We'll see what he does if he plays that Von Augur down on the field. Decides to start off with the Lafitte. Lafitte going to be doing searching, and that's the 4th 10-drop Blackbeard. So now you're in a really interesting position, right? If you don't grab this Blackbeard now, you are most likely not going to have any opportunity whatsoever of back-to-back 10-drop Blackbeard drops, which is so strong as we've seen in the previous rounds. You've bottom decked 2 of them. One of them is in your hand, and if you don't grab this one now, you're not going to see the other one for the rest of the game, right? This Lafitte probably not lasting for another turn. And so you do grab that guy right there. You just don't have enough draw power, I feel like, to cycle through your deck in a game in this matchup specifically. So is going to go ahead now, swing 5 with leader. We'll see if he decides to pitch or take. Looks like he is going to counter out with that 7-drop Sanji, having a 1k counter. And with the rest of the 5, could go ahead and play that Von Augur. That Von Augur could be nice for being able to minus one of these characters and pop it later in the game, right? You have another Doc Q in hand if it gets to stay alive, right? If there's any sort of popping mechanism in the Luffy deck, which I don't believe there is besides the Kamazo, does mean that this Von Augur is going to be safe after being played down onto the field. So is going to go ahead, use that leader effect, pitch the full lead or honeycomb stage, whichever you prefer it to be called, and passes off the turn to the Luffy. The Luffy now going up to 9 Dawn. A lot of 9 drops in this deck, or a variety of 9 drops in the secret rare Luffy and the Linlin we saw earlier. That Eustace Captain Kidd could be nice as a blocker, but you don't really get any minusing effects, right? Dawn minusing effects, because you don't have too much of on-play effects throughout this game because Blackbeard's just going to turn them off. And so taking that KO on the Lafitte stops the searching possibilities for the Blackbeard that are at least present on the field now. Could use that 1-drop event. Decides to swing 6,000 power at lead, that Zorojuro being a 6,000 power character, and then goes in with the 8. Decides to take that life. Finds another Lafitte on that one. And so with the 9 Dawn now, what do? You could go ahead and play a double combo of characters down, right? The Sangoro could be nice alongside the Zorojuro. You could use leader effect to go up to 10 Dawn and play double Sangoro, right? You might be able to take out one as the Blackbeard, but taking out 2 of them is much more difficult. So does use that leader effect, using it now 3 times in this match, by the way, and is going to go ahead and at least play 1 Sangoro down on the field. And so with the rest of this 5, is going to play the other one. So the double Sangoro play, just great to be able to draw you cards, right? The longer this character stays alive, the more cards you are going to draw in your defense against these swings coming in. So Blackbeard now only at 8 Dawn, has some decisions to make on what he wants to do. Doesn't really have, I feel like, a lot of good plays that are in their hand right now, especially with kind of the ramping that the Luffy has done, right? Played these big giant bodies on the field ready to swing in the coming turns. You've got a lot of small bodies and the 10 drop, which is kind of a consequence for having done so many searches and seen so many 10 drops in those searches earlier in the match. So is going to decide what they want to do. Looks like they'll go ahead and do some more Lafitte searching. Try to find something along the line of like a Burgess potentially. There is their first Burgess of the game. Maybe grab a 2k counter Shiryu. There's also a Von Augur in hand and a Doc Q, the 4 different options you can grab on this Lafitte search. Is eyeing up the Shiryu right now. I feel like I would maybe grab the Burgess, right? You want body presence on the field, but is going to go ahead with the Shiryu instead and put it in the hand. And so is 6 more Dawn left to play. We'll see if they add another Lafitte onto the field. I do think they have 1 more in hand. Would be all 4 in the game. That might be a stronger, actually, now that I think about it. But either way, starts out by swinging 5,000 at lead. So thinking now, do you counter this or no? You gotta expect that the Von Augur is going to swing, right? So does counter out with that use as Captain Kidd says, you know what, once you start playing these 10 drops, my kid's gonna lose the blocker effect. So does go ahead, play that Doc Q and uses the Doc Q Von Augur combo, right? Von Augur, you can rest him with that activate main to -3 one of the characters. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Doc Q doing that KO effect is going to take out the Zoro Juro. So does a little bit of board control as you end this turn with Lafitte. Finger Pistol might be a nice card. Unfortunately, you can't grab it off of this search. You're going to have to grab something else. But the Vasco Shot or the Burgess is not bad to have, especially when you have 2 Dawn left. Might go ahead and play that Vasco Shot down on the field to round out the turn and passes the turn off to the purple Luffy after trashing the This Is My Time. Now the countdown really goes, right, on the different cards that you can have. You do have to rest a Dawn in order to use the Lafitte's, right? Especially on your 10 drop turns when you're playing the 10 drop. So not too many cards are going to be gained outside of life, I feel like, for the next couple turns. Now, no on play effects are able to be used from the purple Luffy in this turn, but the Sangoros will be able to draw because that's a when attacking effect that will be activated. So could go ahead, kind of spread out the Dawn a little bit, maybe play some bodies. Could see these Zoro Juros coming down. Nice 4 cost bodies, but decides to swing with the Luffy first potentially. Now, the curious part is, do you go, you know that they have 2 10-drop Blackbeards in hand, right? You saw the 2 get grabbed, so 2 of their 5 cards. Actually, you know 3 of the 5 cards because you saw the Shiryu get claimed earlier, so you know 3 of the 5 cards in hand, right? 2 of them don't have counter and 1 being a 2k counter. So it's going to be really curious to see if he goes for board or goes for the life at this point, right? Because the more that you go for the board, the less opportunity that you're going to have to really push for game like in the next turn or two, because the 10 drop blockers are going to almost guarantee block one of your characters. So I think going at life, right? No, going for the Von Augur. I do like going for the Von Augur play, especially, you know, even though you do get that 1 draw, because that's a big combo as part of this field. Now you're not really worried about this Doc Q on the field, right? KOing different characters. So goes ahead and does the swing with the Sangoro, pitches the 2k from the hand, uses the other Sangoro to draw a card, and 2 cards gained in the hand just like that. So This Is My Time being the trigger does look at the top 3, grabs a Blackbeard Pirates card and trashes the others. Will get a 2k out of this if he wants to with the stronger. A good grab, I would say. And with the rest of the Dawn, what do you do? Attaching 1 to lead, going ahead, swinging 6, just does a lot of 6s, right? Tries to catch a lot of 2ks at this point. And may go ahead and play a double Zoro Juro on this turn with 4 Dawn and leave 1 open for the Gum Gum Giant. So that's exactly what he's going to do. Just fill out the board at this point. No on-play abilities, no problem, but actually uses 5 for the Useless Captain Kidd, so plays that blocker down on the field. The blocker is very nice because you actually now put your opponent in this really interesting turn, right? Think about this. If they play the 10 drop, they can choose one of 2 options. Hit the Sangoro with the nullify effect, right? So then the purple Luffy doesn't draw for the turn, or nullifies blocker on the Useless Captain Kidd. If you go ahead and nullify the blocker effect, especially with all 10 Dawn being used, the Blackbeard can't KO any of these characters, right? And nothing else can on the field either because they're so small. You only have to worry about a 5,000 power swing. Your Sangoros get to stay alive. You could maybe push for game at this point, right? Because nothing on your field can die. You're guaranteed to have at least 5 swings, right? One of these characters, if a 10 drop comes down, will not be able to swing. So a really interesting spot for this Blackbeard on the turn. I think just being able to play down all of these strong characters has boded so well for the purple Luffy. Now, a little bit unfortunate, I think, for the Blackbeard. Hasn't been as lucky as we have seen in other rounds with the different searches and the draws and stuff like that. But it's going to be curious to see if the purple Luffy can really push for game in this next turn. So splitting up the Dawn between 6 and 4 at this point, maybe thinking about Liberation as a card that they would want to use in this turn. Does nullify the effects of a character and then KOs it if it's a 4 or less. So could get rid of this Zoro Juro, but you would have to use other cards in your hand to be able to go for the rest of the turn, right? Maybe do some Lafitte searches, maybe play the Manchury, right? Grab a 2K back. You can grab a 3 to 5 black character by resting that Manchury, which is perfect for the Shuryu, and is thinking about just playing that 10 drop down on the field right now. That's the card that he just had in hand. I think it's just a tie between Liberation and 10 drop. But if he attaches any of this Dawn, that means once again that we know that 2 cards in the hand are dead, because now a 10 drop can't come down. Information has been, what's the word that I'm looking for? Verified, right? Because you saw it earlier. That might not be the right word, but on that 6K swing is going to go ahead, use that 2K Kamazo in the hand to not take a life at this point, is going to think about using these Lafitte. So definitely no 10 drop in this turn. You love to see that if you're the purple Luffy. Putting your Blackbeard opponent in kind of these awkward spots is huge, I think, for the deck. So thinking about either the Von Augur or the Jesus Burgess. The Burgess would be nice, especially as your trash continues to build up, but the Von Augur might be able to help you KO different characters, and so is going to play that guy down, is going to be able to get rid of a 4 cost at least in this turn. And so with 3 Dawn, what do? Is going to go ahead, rest that 5, play the Von Augur, and use that -3 effect. Is going to go ahead, use that Doc Q, take out the Zoro Juro. 3 Dawn left. Is going to use 1 for the Lafitte and maybe end off the turn either playing Manchury or the Vasco shot that they have in hand. So did they just cycle? Did they actually cycle through? That was another 10 drop. Did I miscount the amount of 10 drops? Have they actually cycled? They might have, I guess. So now you're in an even awkwarder position as you're cycling through all of your deck at this point. I didn't even realize how aggressive the draw was or how much they went, because Lafitte is 5 cards. The This Is My Time is 3 cards. Very interesting, I will say. But does go ahead, play that Vasco shot to end the turn, like I mentioned. Is going to go ahead and space out their trash for the different effects that they get for having 4 per in trash with that Jesus Burgess. So now going into another 10 Dawn turn, life is even at this point for the purple Luffy and the Blackbeard. So you do have a lot of blockers on the field right now on the opposing side. So is going to go ahead, swing 7 and do that draw 1 with the Sangoro. Maybe looking for that 9 drop Luffy to be able to play. That is a rush character. Is going to take that life to start out a non-counter card. And so now a 7 is going to come once again and draw another card. A nice 2K Usohachi is very nice. Might even try to use that to push for game at some point, if I'm not mistaken, being able to rest a 5 cost or less character, and is going to go ahead, counter 8 out of that one with the 2K, 1K, no counter left in hand. So he's going to think about what they want to do with the rest of this Dawn. I think this Luffy can go ahead, swing either at the Von Augur or at life. I think life might be more beneficial, right? Because you can push for game. If you swing with the Luffy Taro and the Luffy, right, the purple Luffy right there, you've just got 2 blockers that are just going to block your swings. So maybe going in at life is more beneficial, just again putting the pressure on them. You have plenty of counter in the hand, and so going to go ahead, swing 6 at lead to see what exactly happens. Doesn't want to commit any Dawn for the potential 4 drop plays that they could have coming in this. And it's either block or take a life at this point if you're the Blackbeard, and is going to go ahead, take the life, says, I don't want to block until I have to. No cards in hand, so they're going to have to do a lot of clearing in order to win this one, but is going to go ahead with that Luffy. Go ahead and swing 7 again, that magic number. Go ahead, block. The 8 is also going to prompt the block so you don't lose, and with a little bit more done with that 6 is going to go ahead play that Sanji, even though we have usually in the past, especially with Red Purple Law, seen the Sanji played for 3, right, because of that effect that it has when you're down on Dawn, you get to play it for 3, is going to play for the full 6 to just get an active blocker on the field. Can't really push for game at this point, so is going to go ahead now in this turn. I think the Blackbeard really on the ropes, because now we're in the same exact position, right? If you play the 10-drop Blackbeard, yes, you get a blocker down. Yes, you can nullify one of these characters, but only one swing on your field, the Von Augur is going to be able to potentially take out a character if they don't choose to counter out of it, which I don't know about you, but looking at that hand, he has a ton of counters. So goes ahead and uses the Liberation, decides to swing 5, so nullifies the blocker effect right on this Sanji. No blockers on field. Is he trying to push for game at this point? Just swings 5 at lead. He's not pushing for game, but decides to take the life, put it in hand, goes ahead, swings the 6 at, I think he's a little charismatic with his swing, so just I think he's being a goofball. I think he knows what's about to happen, so does counter out of that with the 2K. Kamazo goes in with the Lafitte and swings the entirety of the rest of the Dawn, goes ahead, takes the life, no more swings coming, but we'll go ahead and use leader effect, put that in the trash and says, all right, go for it, my friend. So writing was on the wall. I think that this was definitely going to be the outcome, whether or not you play that 10 drop. So Purple Luffy going to win this one and dethrone Blackbeard. Blackbeard winning the last 2 regional championships in Japan is going to be stumped by Purple Luffy in its aim for a 3-peat. So Purple Luffy just going in and swinging a nice 15 and claims the win. Excellent showcase by the Luffy on this one. I really loved seeing this deck in the couple rounds that we did get to see it, and very nice for it to get its win. I feel like, especially in the first couple weeks of OP09, that Purple Luffy was kind of underwhelming, right? It wasn't performing at these top table levels in the top cut. Finally, in like the last week or 2, has started to gain its momentum, its stature in the meta, and really come up as in the forefront in this tournament. But as always, let's look at some deck lists. And so here's the Blackbeard's deck list if you didn't get it in the last video. Very interesting list with some new tech cards that we haven't seen in the tournament up to this point. I know that Manchury has been one that a lot of people kind of talked about when Blackbeard was first revealed, right? A great card in this deck as a 2 of being able to rest the character by resting a Dawn with an activate main and putting a cost 3 to 5 character card black back into your hand, which have so many different options within this deck, being the Von Augur, the Laboon, right? A great card that we didn't really see play in this game, but a great card, and is the reason why he's like 20 bucks right now if you're in the West. The Jesus Burgess, so none played in this game, and Blackbeard lost. I think we could see a trend in that being one of the better cards in the Blackbeard's deck, but also the Shiryu, just a great 2K to be able to have. This deck's removal potential as a black deck is super strong, even without on-play abilities, having access to Finger Gun, right? A great CP9 card from EB01, a 4 of in every single Blackbeard deck. Liberation being another great one. We saw it for negating an effect on a character, not necessarily a KO, but especially if you watch the previous videos, and especially in like the Doflamingo matchups, this card is crazy good. And then also showcasing in this game the Von Augur and Doc Q combo, which instead of Von Augur, you can also play the Laboon, which is a reason why this card is so good in this deck. Stopped though by the rush of the Purple Luffy, although does get to stop on play effects, doesn't get to stop ramping effects, which was huge in this game. Purple Luffy taking 3 lives just from that alone. Just a great job by the purple Luffy, and let's look at their list. And so here's the winning list of the Hiroshima Championships purple Luffy. A great deck in general in this format. I think a lot of people consider this to be like one of the top 2 decks in this format, in the OP09 format, as kind of one of the 2 decks that revolve. There's a really good video right here that I absolutely love that can explain it really well if you want to watch that. We didn't necessarily see the top end in this deck of the Lin and Secret Rare from OP09 Luffy, but we saw a lot of the mid-range game, which boded so well, right? Especially on your 4 Dawn turn. Being able to play a 6,000 power character is so good. Even like a 4/6 vanilla, just so strong, right, in this deck. Being able to play these guys down that are 6,000, 8,000, 6,000 as well. The Zangoro being so good in this deck, being able to draw cards and go around Blackbeard's effect entirely, just so nice within this deck. A great job by this purple Luffy. We've seen it now in 2 games actually beat up the Black Hill Luffy, spoiler alert, in the last video yesterday, and just a super fun one to watch. And I'm definitely curious to see if it will continue succeeding and the rest of these 09 tournaments before OP10 comes out at the end of the month on, I think it's November 30th. By the way, we're going to be opening some boxes of OP10 shortly after its release. So if you're curious about those cards and maybe want to see me pull the manga event, well, I highly doubt I'll pull it. Or if you just want to see great videos in the future, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Again, getting close to 10,000. I want to hit it before the end of the year, and I'd love to hit it as well before like the 1-year anniversary of the channel coming up at the beginning of December. So thank you again so much for your support. More videos will be coming, not tournament related, but more so of cards that you should buy, different deck profiles, things of that nature, because I actually got these done really early. So appreciate your support. Hope to see you in the next one. And yeah, that's it. That's all I got.